Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the College Football Show presented by the Regular Usual. I'm your host, Jordan Ash. Welcome you back to week 3 of the college football season. It's hard to think that a quarter of the season's already gone after this Saturday, and we'll have to wait another long 8 months for it to come again. But enjoy the time you have. It's only September, it's just getting started. So we have a couple games this week. We're going to have 9 games. I'm going to discuss why only 9 and not 10 here a little bit later on in the episode. But as always, we do. Actually, before we do a recap of last week, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, Bovada. That's where I place all my bets at for the show. Right now, if you click the link that's going to be in the show notes to the podcast page on theregularsusual.com, or I will try and figure out a way to put them into the YouTube description. If you want to bet as well, Bovada's currently do a 50% deposit bonus up to $500. What that means, if you've never done this before, let's say you want to just dip your toe into the water. If you deposit $20, they're going to kick in 10 for free just for signing up. So that's the big bonus right there. And every time you do that, I get a little bit extra too, which can help me bet more and make it a little more entertaining as the year goes along. And you can get on the action too. Shit, maybe your picks are better. Then you can screenshot them and send them my way and tell me how much of a fucking idiot I am. Your call. You be the judge. But definitely click on that link. Okay, that was the only housekeeping I had, other than the fact that if you did notice, no LaCroix this week because they refused to cut the check. So this week we're doing Polar as our spicy water beverage. So Jeremy, I know you're listening. I'm about to take a sip and enjoy this cranberry lime. See, aren't you glad I told you that I was about to take a sip? It's just a little bit more of a better experience for the audio listeners, since I know you're one of the only people who actually watches these videos. I'm talking to you directly. Anywho, let's get into last week's games. Starting with the record. Last week we went 5-5. While yes, that is 500, that is worse than week 1 where we went 6-7. You'd think after 1 week you'd have a feeling for kind of how these teams were going to perform. I thought I was wrong, and I have the biggest loser that to blame on Oklahoma. Oklahoma is one of the first teams I lost the weekend. They were 30.5-point favorites over UCLA. Oklahoma ended up winning 49-21. For those of you who can't do math well, that's only 28 points. So Oklahoma needed one more field goal and we'd be good. We'd be in the green. 6-4 weekend, I can live with that. Another one that kind of, I wouldn't say fucked me, but it definitely didn't play to my favor, would probably be the Michigan State game. That was a defensive battle. I don't know, is Herb Edwards a genius and everyone kind of overlooked him as a coach at all and thought he couldn't do the studio to college transition? Or is Michigan State trash? I don't know. Babe, is Michigan State trash? See, she contributes sometimes. She says no. Anyways, the results? Whatever. The jury is still out on Michigan State, whether they're going to be any good or not. We'll see what happens as they get into Big Ten conference play and see if they can make some noise on their side of the division. Otherwise, some of them I was just completely wrong on. I really thought last week that Georgia Tech would go in 3-point favorites and run the ball all over USF. They started to, and then Blake Barnett, USF's quarterback, got hot and couldn't miss for a while. And USF came back and beat Georgia Tech 49-38 after being down, I want to say, 21-7 at halftime. So they really turned it on the second half. So maybe Charlie Strong isn't going to have that much of a drop off after losing Quentin Flowers to the NFL and Blake Barnett stepping in his place. Other than that, Georgia absolutely railroaded South Carolina. I picked South Carolina plus 10, and Georgia ended up winning that one 41-17, big time. Of course, the Clemson-Texas A&M game. Hey, I really did think that Clemson would just have it figured out. They'd be like, we know Jimbo, we're going to beat his ass. But the opposite term would be true. Jimbo has seen Clemson now, 5 years in a row. He's seen them progress to get better. He knew he had a game plan for it. And it looks like Clemson might run away with it at the beginning, but Texas A&M definitely has a lot more talent than I give him credit for, and Jimbo's that much closer to actually making some noise in the SEC West, which I thought, for one, they'd be at least 3 years off. So that was a bad loss. Other than that, I already mentioned the Arizona State one. Those are the only 5. Some ones that I looked really good on the first pick of the game, Duke. Hey, the battle of the Brain Bowl between Duke and Northwestern. Duke came out on top, 21-7, covered there with Duke +3. One that I felt really good about was the upset of Colorado on the road at Nebraska. I took Colorado as the 4-point underdog. They ended up winning outright, 33-28. Maybe the players aren't quite used there to Scott Frost's offensive system and trying to go as fast as he'd like to go. But they just look unorganized, and I only watched that game until halftime, until I went out for sushi. So, yeah, we didn't see it, but I was happy they won, even though I did lose a secondary bet in the other section of my bets. Kentucky, that was a great pick. Plus, I took them as 14-point dogs. I thought they would probably lose to Florida for the 35th time, so shouts to Jake Barish for correcting me literally 2 hours after the podcast went live on YouTube and to iTunes and saying, hey, man, it probably looked better if I told you it's been this long since they won. And anti-shouts to Dirty Joe and Willie B and Pat, because they all thought that Florida would roll them. Well, Will and Pat were a little more realistic, probably keeping it within 10. Kentucky won outright. Their quarterback, his name slips my mind right now, he looked fantastic. And Florida they still don't have a quarterback, in my opinion. They still don't look... Everyone thought Dan Mullen would come in and be this offensive guru and just really be able to mold Felipe Franks to a great quarterback. He might, by the end of the year, things might get going well for him. He finally hits his stride and buys into Dan Mullen's system. But right now, this weekend, things were not looking promising for Florida. And I don't want to get started about Florida State. Y'all already know how bad that game looked. And your turnover backpack, plus you getting beat by Stanford? My friend Wes went to law school there. I didn't even know that was a school. And they lost, Florida State came back and won, but it was not pretty at all. For FSU fans, I know y'all are sweating right now. Y'all paid all this money to Willie Taggart to come in, and now you're missing Jimbo pretty bad, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Not great. Anyways, my other bet section where I tried to make up a little bit of money, that was an absolute travesty. If you followed those picks on Twitter, shit. I apologize. Hopefully you faded them all, and then if you did, you would have won. You would have done great. Speaking of which, if anybody has any suggestions for what to rename the other bets section of the podcast, I put it out there last week. We could call it the shoe money. We could do. So I'm starting to become a sneakerhead a little bit and getting into shoes. We can make that money add in there. The debt fund, because I'm swimming in debt. Due to credit cards from being single last year and for a house renovation project, so that's great. We call it Hedge Central, where all the games I picked, we could just bet the dogs and bet a little bit more, and hopefully we win because we'll have the better odds. Or you pick. I don't know, come up with an answer. Definitely call in or leave a voicemail, because I'm not going to answer the phone. Call in, leave a voicemail, or text 813-856-9093. Give me an idea to what to call this other section. I want to get a little more creative than just calling it other bets. Something that has a little bit more flair to it, because I like to have a little bit of flair. Jeremy, I'm taking a sip. Cotton mouth going on there. But yeah, call, text that in to that number, to 813-856-9093. Of course, you can email it in to the regular usual at gmail.com, or DM me on Twitter at j-325, or on Instagram at jord.ash325. Anywho's, let's we lost money. Started last week with 102.58, and the bankroll ended with 98.63. So overall records at 11-12. Only way to go but up. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I need to get positive so when I fuck up later on in the year, this will balance out. All right, let's get into the games. Enough dicking around. First game up is going to be our Thursday night game tomorrow night, or tonight if you're... Yeah, I'm recording it on Wednesday night, so it'll be tomorrow night, the 13th, for me. We'll do Boston College on the road at Wake Forest. Boston College is coming in as 6-point favorites, or at least that's the line was when I looked yesterday. It looks like that line has dropped to 4.5 points. So Boston College is going to be 4.5 point favorites in this one. I know you're probably thinking, why would you pick a Thursday night game between two schools that are neither one of them ranked? The main reason I picked this one, not because it was actually an intriguing matchup, or was going to be a one-sided blowout, but mainly because the last couple years these schools have played, Wake Forest got progressively closer to beating UConn. So much so that last year Wake Forest beating Boston College. So much so that Wake Forest actually pulled the upset last year at Boston College, 34-10. So this is going to be a revenge game for the Eagles. Initially, my gut said, let's take Wake Forest in the points. Dave Clawson definitely has that team figured out. He's going to put the players in the right place. They can make the plays. But Boston College now being at 4-point favorites, I might lean towards the Eagles. They've really lit up the points. This is also one of the first games for both these teams. They played someone who's a D1 caliber school. Yes, Wake Forest opened up with Tulane to start the year, but that game took them to overtime. They only won by 6. Otherwise, they've both played Ducks in Towson and Holy Cross, and it really hasn't been close. So I think going to this one, I'm going to lean on Boston College and the 4 points just for a revenge game. They have a little better team together this year. We'll go Boston College -4. I need to update that from 6. And hopefully get the first win on Thursday night. You know what? Because it's not that far into the podcast, hopefully you're still listening or watching along. This is where I'm going to get a little bit creative here this week. Okay. The second game I had picked out was going to be UCF on the road at North Carolina. UCF was actually 14.5-point favorites in this game for a non-conference game, a game they needed that would look a win against a Power 5 opponent. North Carolina looks like shit this year. Still, it's a Power 5 opponent. It's going to look better for UCF. I mean, theoretically, yes, if UNC doesn't do great, it's not going to matter or anything. But anyways, unfortunately, yesterday we found out that that game is actually going to be canceled. So UCF and North Carolina will only have 11 games on their schedule this year versus the typical 12. So that kind of hurts them. But what I'm going to do to kind of spice things up, because I only have 9 games to break down this week, is I'm going to do we'll get a little frivolous with this, all right? Here's what I'm willing to do. I'm going to pick 3 people. If there's only 2, text in, fuck it, you 2 get the bets. I'm going to throw $5 bets on the line. I know I'm going to amp up my minimum bet amount by $5, from $1 to $5. I'm going to place 3 $5 bets for you. If you win, I will Venmo you $5. If you lose, well, I lose $5 on my bankroll. But what I'm going to do if I win those bets, I'm going to keep the $5 and the winnings from that in the bankroll to add it on there. But I will personally Venmo you $5 just for picking a correct winner. All you need to do is to text in the hotline, again, 813-856-9093. Give me the game, the line. So let's say for that last one, you wanted Boston College -4 in the 4 points, 4-point cover, and that's basically it. Give me the game, the line, and the team that you're going to bet on. Or if you want to get crazy and bet the over-under, I'm more than willing to take those as well. We can take Moneyline bets. We can do whichever. But remember, if you lose, it doesn't hurt you. It just kind of hurts me a little bit. And if I think it's an absolute bullshit bet, I'm not going to place it. I may hit you back and be like, hey, is this really what you want to do? So there's going to be some interaction going on between us if you hit me up. Otherwise, if you win, I'm going to give you $5 just for winning. Sound fair enough? I think so. And it makes me that much more responsible for my picks later on in the year, so I needed to get these right now. But I will definitely throw up 3 $5 bets for first 3 people who text in, or the ones that look the most likely that I agree with, depending on how much of a response we get to that. So people on YouTube, you can click down below, see all the information there. People listening to this audio, you have the number again, 813-856-9093. Get me those bets in by Saturday before noon, because noon is when Miami plays, and that's when almost all the other games kick off, and I don't want to be placing bets while Miami's trying to play and I'm trying to watch the game, and so send those in. You have till Saturday the 14th at noon Eastern. Deal? Cool. Moving on. Next game up, the mighty Florida State Seminoles in the Carrier Dome on the road against Syracuse. I picked this one mainly because, hey, Florida State, you're only 3-point favorites over Syracuse. What? Exactly. The line, when I initially looked at it, when I did all these lines on Monday, which I should have put the podcast recorded then, Florida State was a 4-point favorite in this game. The line's now moved to 3. it's interesting because the best player on the field will more than likely be Eric Dungey for Syracuse. He's been kind of Mr. Do-It-All for them. I think he may actually be a better quarterback than DeAndre Francois or Justin Blackmon. And the pace that Syracuse likes to run with Dino Babers as head coach could put some pressure on the Seminoles early. Yet, no, Stanford didn't run a hurry-up offense. Virginia Tech had a little bit of a hurry-up, but Syracuse is trying to get they're trying to get in more plays than Oregon averaged back in the Chip Kelly years. I think Dino Babers wants to run 80 offensive snaps a game minimum. So they just wear teams out. That's kind of what they do. You see UCF adapting the same model, that just rapid go, go, go. It's not necessarily, in my opinion, a productive move, but it can it plays into your game plan long term because it keeps your defense unable to sub players in and out on third downs to get in your big linemen, your big linebackers or your speed package to kind of blow any of that to slow it down. The ability to substitute is more challenging, which Nick Saban, of course, says that makes the game more dangerous. Well, you're basically paying players to come to your school, and then you have the biggest, baddest team on the block, and no one can really touch them. I don't know how. I mean, some people have to do that. You complain. I mean, hell, Stanford playing for what's his name? Head coach Willie Taggart complained after that Labor Day night where Virginia Tech faked injuries on defense to slow down their offense. So people are finding ways to combat it. Is it sleazy? Yeah, but still. Getting back to the main point. Syracuse as 3-point underdogs at home against Florida State. Maybe just the anti-Florida State in me, or because I want it to happen so bad. My heart says go with Syracuse. My head says be smart. Florida State should come out on this one ready to play after being kind of embarrassed last week. It's a tough call on this one I may end up hedging one way or the other. If I'm being honest, I think the smart pick here would be to take Florida State so that they can actually make up. Like, they're going to want to make some noise. There's probably some bulletin board bullshit that's going to go on to kind of get them hyped up or whichever. If not, they're going to be in a world of shit for the rest of the season. I'm going to be pulling for Syracuse, of course, but I do think Florida State wins. This will be definitely one that'll go in the other bets section. Probably hedging. If I can get Syracuse +9 maybe on a teaser, I can definitely see myself doing that. Next up, a game that I thought Game Day would be at. Jeremy, I'm taking another sip. A game I was surprised Game Day wasn't going to be at, but maybe I was misinformed. But big SEC West battle between number 12 LSU and number 7 Auburn. Auburn is actually coming in this game as 10.5 point favorites, which isn't surprising to me. LSU had a quote unquote signature win against Miami in week 1. You know how I feel about that one. When Auburn, on the other hand, beat a very good Washington team who was actually number 6 at the time, 21-16. Overall, Auburn's look much more impressive. Especially to the talking heads at ESPN and to me personally, mainly because I think Auburn is a better team than LSU. Joe Burrow is just a serviceable quarterback for LSU, but then you got Jared Stidham on the other hand, who could probably be, I don't know, one of the top 5 quarterbacks drafted in next year's draft, or this year's draft, whichever, next year's draft. So you have someone who is definitely talented versus someone who can kind of just step in and kind of not make mistakes. The typical game manager that someone like Nick Saban would go for. Defensively, both teams are going to be pretty balanced or pretty equal in that regard. Offensively, I've seen LSU run the ball. They can do it well. They did it well against Miami's defense, but Savannah State didn't look bad against them this weekend either, so kind of hard to say there. I think LSU is going to have the better run game, but Auburn's got the better defense to go against, so they'll kind of negate each other. 10 points is a lot. I think this game will be a closer one than people think. But hey, I could be wrong. It could turn out like Georgia last week where I thought South Carolina might be able to pull the upset, and they absolutely just blew them out. This is kind of an elimination game in the SEC West because they're both probably going to lose to Alabama, and that's already one loss. And if Alabama has none, this game's over. That's 2 losses in your SEC West record, and you're out. So LSU is overhyped. Miami isn't that good. Auburn, -10. Book it. Don't drop my pen. Next up, we're going to head out to the Smurf Turf over in damn, tongue-tied much? We're going to head out to the Smurf Turf out in Idaho, where we have number 17 Boise State on the... Oh, we're not at the fucking Smurf Turf, idiot. But the team of the Smurf Turf is number 17 Boise State going on the road to Stillwater to take on number 24 Oklahoma State. This game here, Oklahoma State is actually going to be a 2.5 point home favorite. When I looked them up the other day, the line was at 3, so it has moved a little bit more down. A little bit more money is probably coming in on Boise State. Personally, I'm right there with it. Not even going into too much detail on this one. Boise State absolutely embarrassed UConn last week, 62-7. Yes, UConn's bad. UCF didn't even beat them that much, and they couldn't do anything against Boise State. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, they've scored 58 and 55 points against, who's this team? The South Alabama Jaguars and some MOST, Missouri Valley. I don't even know who the team is. That's how bad it was. I have no clue. I'm not going to click on the link and fuck up my page. So, yeah, they've looked great against scab teams. They've probably been prepping for this game a little bit in the background, keep it in the back of their heads in the offseason. But this one here, Boise State being underdogs, I'm going Boise State for the outright win on this one. Give me Boise State +3. Don't be surprised they pull the outright W. Ooh, we got some good ones to kind of wind down the evening here. I might be in on Saturday night, not out doing shit. Hey, Jeremy, I just took a step and didn't announce it to you. You're probably proud. You're probably jumping up and down in front of your laptop right now, fool. Next up. Fuck, I didn't even look at this one. Shit. Next up, you had number 14 West Virginia on the road to NC State. Game was canceled. Washington was 3.5 point favorites. I was going to take West Virginia was 3.5 point favorites. I was going to take West Virginia. I think they'd walk and stomp all over. That's weird. Now the line has looked like it moved to NC State -1. That's weird. Anyways, the game got canceled, but I expected West Virginia to go there and monkey stomp all over NC State. Good. So we're going to have 8 games this week. This is going to be a quick episode, a quick podcast. Might be able to do this all in one shot, one take. One take Willie over here, baby. Next up, you have number 1, Alabama on the road at unranked Ole Miss. Alabama's coming to this game as 21 point favorites. Alabama looks unstoppable. What can I say? Everyone's talking about it. I'm going to piggyback on top of that and just say, yes, they've looked very good, especially with Tua Tagovailoa. Say it right? Tagovailoa. That's what it is. At helm at quarterback. He has 10 incompletions through 2 games. 6 touchdowns. That's saying much. And he could sling the absolute fuck out of the ball. Ole Miss, on the other hand, they looked great in that first game against Texas Tech, where they lit up the scoreboard against another D1 school. Their quarterback, what is his name? Ta'amu. His last name, Jordan Ta'amu. I'm not sure how to say it. Big time dual threat guy. Kind of reminds you of last year's Khalil Tate, but they're going to throw the ball a lot. I don't think you're going to be able to get that same time, be able to throw against Alabama's defense, no matter how good your offense is. I mean, Ole Miss might get some points, but they're not going to win this game. That's my advice to steal a line from Clay Travis. My blood bank guarantee: Alabama will beat Ole Miss. That's where it is. And no, I will not place that bet for you. That $5 bet. If you're one of the people who's going to text in for this, a $5 bet on Ole Miss to beat Alabama. It might pay great. Shit, we might look it up here before it's all said and done, but it's not going to happen, guys. Think about it. Yes, it's them at home, and it's a 7 o'clock game. There's a chance, but fuck, now I'm talking myself into it. Anyway, maybe I might place that bet if you text in. I'm going to have some hard feelings about it, but for this game, for my pick, I'm going Alabama and the 21 points. I think they blow Ole Miss out of the water. Next up, number 4, Ohio State. Again, on the road at number 15, TCU. Ohio State's coming to this game Oh wow, when I looked at the line initially, it was as 12-point favorites. The line has now moved to 13.5, so looks like more and more people are jumping on the Ohio State Buckeyes. They think they're for real, even with Urban Meyer not at the helm. This will be, he has this game and one more, and then he's back from his suspension for the Zach Smith situation and being king cover-up up there in Columbus. However, TCU shouldn't be a walkover. This should be a game that Gary Patterson should have a good plan for. We'll see his old creativity probably break out a little bit, probably a little trickery here, a little bit earlier in the game than you expect, mainly potentially out of desperation in case things get ugly early. Ohio State, I mean, shit, everyone knows they've recruited like crazy these past, well, hell, since Urban Meyer got there, however long he's even been at Ohio State now. TCU is one of those teams they're kind of like Baylor was. They're the mirror image of Baylor during the Art Briles era. We're taking these diamonds in the rough, 2-star recruits, maybe a 3, and towards the end they were getting a 4-star here and there. These bigger name recruits that Texas didn't want or Oklahoma didn't want, they would just kind of go over and pick up these guys. TCU's been doing the same thing. Gary Patterson just unfortunately didn't do any covering up either. Unlike Art Briles, who covered up a lot of sexual assault charges, accusations for his players. Gary Patterson don't play that shit, mainly because it's Texas Christian University. You forget that. That's what TCU stands for, the Mighty Horned Frog. Why they picked a frog as their mascot, I have no idea, but they did. I kind of went way off with, not sure where I was heading with that. But anyways, TCU, I want to give them a chance, especially at plus 14. This could be I think Ohio State wins by double digits. I just don't know by how many. I think because I can probably get TCU at plus 14, I'm going to have to go with that, just based on the hatred for Ohio State. This is one where I'm picking against my gut, where my gut says this could get ugly for TCU early, but fingers crossed again, pulling for the upset. Where game day is also, is game day here? It might be. We'll see. Anyways, you've got number 22 USC going on the road to Austin, take on the mighty Longhorns of Texas and Tom Herman's Paul Walgrill. USC is actually going to be 4-point underdogs, 3.5-point underdogs. We want to get real accurate against the Longhorns here. Of course, USC lost a tight game last week against number 10 Stanford, and then everyone and their mother saw Texas not being back and losing 34-29 to Maryland the first week of the season. They bounced back, kind of, sort of, against Tulsa last week, only winning 28-21. USC, on the other hand, they did look impressive in their win over UNLV and didn't quite have the game you thought JT Daniels would against Stanford, but Stanford's got a legit defense, especially for a Pac-12 school. They've got a good defense, more hard-nosed. David Shaw kind of kept that mentality that Jim Harbaugh left behind. So JT Daniels, he should be able to move. I think this could be a great game. How cool would it be? No lie, people. How tight would it be if you had a repeat of the was the national championship game where it was Vince Young versus Reggie Bush that year, and it was accounted as 2004. It was counted as one of the greatest games of all time. It went to overtime in the Rose Bowl or something like that. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, the Vince Young game where he won the Heisman that year. That would be great if you could have one of those classic rivalries. Defense keeps breaking left and right. Comes down to those last possessions. If it went to overtime, even better. I'm pulling for Team Chaos. This is an 8 o'clock game on Fox. I'm definitely going to try to make it a point to watch this one. I may say fuck going out with my friends and doing something social. Your boy might be on the goddamn couch watching this game. YouTube TV, by the way. That's where it's at. Anyways, Texas, hey, Tom Herman is known as a big game coach. He usually gets his team up for games that they should possibly lose or probably lose, or people expect them to lose. But for some reason, they're favored in this one by 4 points. Now, that's at least we're going to get them at. Oh shit, what did I just do right there? Oh no, people, I messed up. We goofed. Shit. Technical difficulties, bear with us. I'm going to take some sip of this spicy water and hum a little tune while I do it. Do 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 do. Bop bop skidly boo bop bang bang. Da dee da da. Zoop, zoop, zip, bop, zip, zip, bop, bop, doop, doop. All right, we're back. I know that was. Tell me how fucking weird that was. You had to listen to me hum for some dumb shit, but whatever. Hopefully, maybe let you giggle at it. Last year, this game went 20. Texas lost 27-24 in double overtime. That was one of the big. And USC was number 4 in the country at that time. Other than that, I'm kind of looking into Tom's big game mentality. Lost a tight one to Oklahoma 29-10 or 29-24. Then to Oklahoma State last year 13-10 in overtime. They got spanked by TCU pretty good, but then ended up winning their bowl game against Missouri 33-16, kind of putting them right over the hump at 7-6. He's got a better team in place this year. There's more pieces starting to fall in. People are buying in more. The seniors or the upperclassmen who've had him now for 2 years, they should have bought in. I think Texas' problem, it's an execution issue. I don't know if maybe they just don't have the good quarterback in there between Sam Ellinger or whoever, Sam Ellinger, and I can't remember the other quarterback. Is Tyrone Swoop still there? It's not Case McCoy. Otherwise, Ellinger and the other guy, like between them two, neither one of them is really an elite quarterback, and Texas kind of needs that to hit that next hump, especially in Tom Herman. I mean, hell, he put over the play calling halfway through before the halftime against Maryland in week 1. So maybe he just didn't have the right people there, but I think USC does win this game. I would love to see them upset USC and people be like, oh, Texas is back. And you know that stadium's going to be packed out this weekend. Just to make it interesting, it would be great to cheer for Texas and Tom Herman. At the same time, USC is a good team. You know, they're probably the overall better team. But this is going to be one of the risky picks we take. We're going to go with Texas just for the sake of it. Kind of like, you know, we're riding Texas this week. These teams from Texas. We got TCU. We have Texas in there. And who else do we have that's even close? Boise. Boise's not even in Texas, but they're close enough to me. I'm in Florida, so that's what I'm picking. Boise's out there, Texas country, even they're in fucking Idaho. Doesn't matter. Texas with the upset. Or Texas with the win. Ooh, shit, 3.5 points. That game could be closer than we think. They get it done this year. They make up for last year's mistake. They win by 3. I'm going to take Texas at 3. And finally, last game of the night, 10 p.m. kickoff. You have number 10 Washington on the road at Utah. You might think, hey, why are you going to be watching this? Mainly because Washington is only 6.5 point favorites in this one, basically a touchdown. And last year they actually lost to Utah 33-30. Utah lost at Washington last year 33-30. What it is, maybe that Kyle Cunningham has a little bit of spark out of his team now being a home atmosphere Saturday night. This should be a huge game for them. Washington's looking to definitely kind of test. They know they're going to be testing this one. I still have a lot of faith in Chris Peterson. I just think he was overmatched in week 1 against when he played Auburn. Just that he didn't have the athletes that Auburn had. Hey, they made it a game. They made it competitive right there towards the end. Auburn just was the better the better team that day and started off a little bit hotter. Utah in this one, give me Utah in 6, maybe 7 points. I might be able to get Utah at 7 now. That is very close. I know the last couple of years it's just been closer and closer. They're so close to breaking that hump. I think Chris Peterson has his team ready to play. He knows what's at stake. He's prepared to go into the hostile environment. If I can get I'm going to pick Washington on this one, but I'm going to take probably a teaser bet and see if I can get Washington at -1 just to win that little bit in the other bet section, or TBD, whatever we want to call it. But we're going to go with Washington here. Fuck. Yeah, we're going to go with Washington. I think Washington comes out to play. Utah isn't quite what we think they'd be. I mean, yeah, they got Tyler Huntley, but he's not really throwing the ball that well. Jake Browning really isn't either, but they played Auburn week 1. Come on. So this will be good. I'll be honest. I'm interested to see how this all turns out this week. And that's the episode. We only have 8 games. It's nice, isn't it? Should I do 8 games from here on out? Just pick the best 8, only these ranked matchups if I can find any each week. I know I kind of threw the Boston College game in there and the Duke Baylor. I had Duke Baylor on here, but that game, we don't know. I decided against picking that one just because it didn't seem very interesting, and I don't know. And Daniel Jones is out, so that changed my thought process on it. And I was like, I don't want to take that L, if I'm being honest. But I only had enough time today to go through one spicy water. So Polar, if you're listening, I'm looking for sponsorship. You can pay me in the form of one free case of flavor of your choice. You can be one even the executives don't like. 35 minutes into this podcast, send me some goddamn Polar seltzer. Spiked. Spicy water. That's not spiked. But just Polar seltzer. Cut the check. I could use it. That's it, people. That's the end of the show. I don't know what else you want for me. Again, if you want me to place a bet for you, or if you want to pick the name of what we call that segment, text the hotline, or text the line. It's a hotline technically, but I still get it. 813-856-9093. As always, you can email the show the old school way at the regular usual at gmail.com. My Twitter at j-325. If you're not on there already, you're still using Facebook. Why? And finally, Instagram at jord.ash325. That one. Follow me there. Shoot me a DM. Do what you got to do. Just share the love. Share it with a friend. Go on iTunes. Review the show. Let me know how good or bad I am. Just give me some feedback. I need to up these views. Share it with a friend. Share it with a neighbor. Do something. Shit. Don't just sit there and listen. You know the drill. As always, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Take care.